GM, good morning. Welcome to the Milk Road Show, the daily crypto show where we serve insights fresher than the lies you tell yourself at 11 p.m. about going to bed early. I'm your host, Jay Hamilton, and today we're joined by Kyle Reidhead, co-owner and head of research at Milk Road. We are going to discuss what the F is going on with XRP. Should you be buying? Or should you be avoiding at all costs? We're also going to talk about other coins. Cardano is pumping. Hedera is pumping. Litecoin is pumping. What's going on? What is causing all these tokens to go up right now? Is the market overheated? Is this a top signal? And we're going to look at some indicators, some liquidity indicators that Kyle loves to look at that are starting to sound some alarm bells that we should be watching out for what that means in December and into January. There might be a pullback coming. How do you guys prepare for that? Before we jump in, guys, are you subscribed to our newsletter? If you're not, please do me a favor and go subscribe. Do it for yourself. Do it for 5 minutes a day to make sure that you're on top of this wild and wacky crypto world and you don't miss anything, or even better, you don't FOMO into anything. So hit the link in the show notes. Subscribe today if you're not already. Before we jump into today's show and hear from Kyle, we'll take a moment to hear from our sponsors who make the show possible. Meanwhile is the world's first licensed and regulated life insurance company built for the Bitcoin economy. They do everything in BTC. You pay in BTC, they pay claims to your family in BTC. You take out policy loans entirely in BTC when you need liquidity. Protect your family from life's uncertainty and a broken financial system. Build intergenerational Bitcoin wealth while the cost of living skyrockets in dollar terms. Plus, get all the tax and legal benefits of life insurance now in Bitcoin. Visit milkroad.com/meanwhile to join the waitlist and get early access to the world's first Bitcoin life insurance. Kyle, welcome back to the show.
Hey guys, glad to be here.
Okay, Kyle, we got to start with the biggest question of the day and the thing that's on everybody's mind, and that is XRP. Let me pull this up here. Okay, I got XRP. We got CoinGecko. XRP is now the number 3 cryptocurrency in the world by market cap, 150 million market cap. It is past Solana. It is past, Tether, but Tether is a stable coin, so think of that differently. But it is past everything. It's only below ETH and Bitcoin now. And it's got everybody wondering, are we missing the boat? Is XRP the next big thing? Or is this just a pump that makes who knows why? What are your thoughts? What is going on with XRP?
Yeah, I don't even look at the market cap. I look at FDV. And what's crazy is that its FDV, so the fully diluted valuation of XRP, is double Solana's. It is now 62 or 63% of Ethereum. It's absolutely crazy. So, I went into our newsroom, was this on Friday or Monday, with our team and our research, and I said, what's going on? What are we missing here? Like what actually is happening? Like, let's do some deep work here and dive in XRP, because I've never actually used it. I obviously know about XRP. I've been around this space for a long time, so I'm well aware of what XRP kind of is, what it's doing. I have no reason to say why this thing is pumping like it is. Like, if you look at the metrics, right? You look fundamentally what's happening on XRP, there's not much that's changed. Like, transactions are kind of the same as it's always been. All the numbers are just subpar, like they've always been. And there's actually no change for months and months and months, except for if you look for the last couple of days. And the last couple of days, because obviously when price goes up, people start wondering, and they do exactly what we did. And they go create a wallet and they go look. And now people are launching meme coins on XRP and blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, the use case of XRP is kind of the same as it always was. It's not a place for meme coins in that. It is basically like a product for financial institutions, for banks, I guess, where they can exchange their fiat into XRP, and then it moves it cross-border, and then it takes the XRP, moves it into the other fiat, wherever that is. And it's like a cheaper way to do that. But I don't see any changes in adoption. I think there's some hype around maybe XRP is launching or Ripple, I guess, is launching a stablecoin, and that's coming supposedly pretty soon. So maybe there's something there. Does that make it worth $260 billion? I don't think so. I also don't really see why the big use case for Ripple makes any sense. Anyone can now move currencies, any currency, whether it's a dollar or another currency like Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever, across borders for free. So XRP had this good idea back in 2012 when it was created. It made sense back then when Ethereum didn't exist and Solana didn't exist and there was no such thing as stablecoins and blah, blah, blah. It made sense. And so that's why it did so well many, many, many years ago. These days, it feels like it's just kind of like a meme coin. It feels almost like a GameStop scenario here, because when we went and looked through it, we're like, okay, this thing makes no sense to be valued up here. It scares me. And to me, like you said at the beginning, it does feel a bit toppy. The reason, like for this thing to be this high, I mean, in crypto, and I always say this, hey, when the banana zone comes, there's gonna be a bunch of things that don't make sense. So like I expect this. This doesn't like confuse me, doesn't worry me. I'm not surprised. I definitely didn't invest in XRP because I don't see why. But I mean, there's tons of things that this happens. So like, this is crypto, right? Just weird shit happens. It probably, to me, I think what's happening here is just a lot of retail's flooded back in the last few weeks since Trump, and I think a lot of them, they've bought XRP for 2 cycles now, and so when they come back, they bought XRP, and that's why they're buying Cardano and Hedera and Tron and like the V chain and so many of these other ones, Litecoin, all these other ones from past cycles. If you have millions of people that were here last cycle or even the cycle before that haven't been here for a couple of years, when they come back, what's the first thing you're going to do? They're going to buy the tokens that they already know of, right? And so that kind of makes sense to me. I guess the other reason why this thing's really pumping, what like really the catalyst, I think was obviously the SEC. So Gary Gensler, going away. We have a new SEC coming in, and then Trump basically said like any tokens that were launched by an American company will be tax exempted. And so that's like, again, that's your Ripple, that's your Cardano, I believe, and I don't know, a couple others, Hedera, I think. So like that's probably what started it. And then of course the way retail works is retail comes in because everything's making money and they buy the thing that's pumping the most. Even in our pro Discord, people that like are paying to be like get advice, and like they are what I would assume are, more, let's say, knowledgeable investors, are all asking about XRP. And I'm like, guys, what are you doing? You know the plan here. This doesn't make any sense. So yeah, that's the world we're in.
You bring up an interesting point there, and I'm just going to ask the direct question. As an investor, do you need to buy every token that pumps?
No, absolutely not. This has been my advice the last 2 days in our Discord, was basically telling them, guys, like so many tokens are going to pump this cycle. That's what the banana zone is. You got to remember, there's 15,000 tokens on CoinGecko. There's 10,000 new tokens every single day on Pump.Fun, and however many more thousands happening on Base. And like part of succeeding in this cycle is just watching these things go by and letting other tokens pump, right? Like the whole point is you should own a token before it pumps and then let the pump happen and then take profits. That's the basics of investing. It's not watch a token pump 5x, buy the token, and then sell it when it goes back down. That's not how investing works. And imagine, I mean, stocks are the same. There's stocks going up all the time, right? In different sectors. Sometimes tech is going down, but then like, I don't know, energy is going up. Are you running and scrambling because like gold has gone up, but your Apple stock didn't? No, you just hold Apple and you hold it for a long time and it does really, really well, you know? And for some reason in crypto, we don't think of these like sectors. We just think like crypto is crypto. And if there's any token holding, I got to hold it, or pumping, I got to hold it and I got to chase it. And I don't know why. I think it's probably just because a lot of retail investors in here, but like, absolutely not. You should expect so many tokens to pump and just watch it. Be like, why? What made it pump this instance? No idea. Was I wrong in my investment thesis? Did I miss something fundamentally? Absolutely not. Cool. On to the next one, right? Like, it doesn't phase me. Now the problem is like I remember last cycle or like my first cycle, this shit's hard to watch a token pump when like Solana's only been down for the last 2 weeks or whatever, right? ETH hasn't really moved a shit ton, and Bitcoin hasn't even moved much in 2 weeks, and so people get restless and like, well, shit, why is this thing pumping and my assets aren't, right? And it's like, guys, this is how it works. You're not going to pump every day for like 365 days. You're going to get a few pumps in a year, and hopefully that gets you 100% in the year, and great. Bitcoin just doubled. You don't need another pump today. You can wait a few weeks. Like, what are we doing here, guys? So anyway, it's all mindset. But if you just chase pumps like this, because you're like, oh, XP pumped, I got to get down on it, and you buy it now, like you're going to get wrecked. And there's no helping you.
Okay, so just to like, because I did want to specifically ask this question, would you buy XRP right now?
No. Oh, right now? Definitely not. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
The thing is sitting at $260 billion valuation and it has zero fundamentals. What do you think is going to happen to that next? Where do you think that's going to go? In fact, I think we have a chart here of the, do you have the chart of XRP, or can you click on XRP and just click all? There's 2 other times in the past that XRP has done the same thing. Okay. Just click max. And look at this. There's 3 of them. 3 times it's done this. This is the 3rd one. The first time it did it was in January 2018. Okay. What was that? The top of the entire 2017 cycle. Okay. What was the next time that it pumped? April 2021. There was 2 tops in the 2021 cycle. This marked the very first big top where we ran up. XRP pumped and boom, top. Look at it, went down so much. The whole industry went down, and then it only went down from there, right? And it hasn't moved. Basically, it's only gone down since until last week. So like when I look at that's a scary looking chart for not just XRP, but for the whole damn industry. So this scares me more than anything. So no, I wouldn't touch
So,
that.
and you would put Hedera, these other L1 chains, you would put into that same category?
Not all of them. I don't want to put everything in this. Like Cardano to me still is a ghost chain. There's nothing happening over there. They just make promises. And the moment that they launch anything for real is the moment that they get wrecked, in my opinion, because the only reason they do well is the hope, right? Promise that something's coming. So like Cardano loves to just do the fake out, the ghost thing. So that fits similar. Now, I just want to say, like, I don't think XRP is like a ghost chain. I know there is a team there. It's a big team. They have a lot of money. They're building things. So like, I don't want to say that it's like a ghost thing and there's nothing going on, but like it doesn't make sense to be valued at what it is currently. Cardano, different. That is kind of a ghost chain, to be honest. And some of these other ones, Hedera, I don't know enough about, so I don't want to speak on that one. But when I just look and I see all these older assets pumping all at the same time, it just tells me it's a retail driven pump and there's no other reason around it. To say if they're good assets or not, I don't know. And honestly, a lot of them I don't really care. But just the fact that they all happen to pump at the exact same time tells you there's something going on here.
Okay. Another token that's got a bit of a funny story of what's going on right now that I gotta touch on is Litecoin, also a old token that has been around for a long time.
Long time.
Give us a little bit of the background of Litecoin, but more
Uh,
so, tell us about what the heck is going on with Litecoin right now.
Yeah, Litecoin's like a copy of Bitcoin from many, many, many years ago, and it never really did anything. Like the founder still exists, and it exists. It's on. I think Litecoin was it PayPal or something? I'm pretty sure, but like so like it has some adoption, has some holders, but like it's not doing anything. It's obviously not the next money like Bitcoin is. Like everyone knows it. I think even Litecoin knows it, and Litecoin hasn't pumped in freaking years. And so all of a sudden they decided to. I think they hired a marketing company and this marketing company just went absolute bananas on their Twitter. And it was hilarious because they basically, their pinned tweet here says, due to current market conditions, I now identify as a meme coin. That was Litecoin. And then if you go through their Twitter account, I highly recommend you guys do. It's just memes. It's putting the Litecoin logo on everything. It's reckless. Like it's very degenerate. It reminds you of like the Friendtech Twitter account, and like a few others have done this in the industry. And interestingly, like it kind of worked. Litecoin kind of pumped like I think like 50%. But again, it did this as retail was coming in. And so retail sees it all over Twitter. And what do? They go and buy it. It's all about attention, right? And so when you invest in things like these that aren't building like real infrastructure or like a real use case, it's basically a meme coin. That's what Litecoin is. That's what XRP is at this point. They're all kind of just memes. I mean, most of crypto is that, to be completely honest. Even Bitcoin is, but like I think it's well established what Bitcoin is in the financial industry, or like it's kind of getting that way. So it's a weird world out there. If you look on TikTok, it's even weirder, which is, by the way, probably why XRP is also pumping. There's all these TikTokers that are saying XRP is going to go to 10K a coin, which like I don't think
10K a coin?
10K a coin, which would put
Guys,
it
it's
like
at 250 a coin right now, $2.50.
It would put out like $200 trillion asset. Like people are out to lunch. Like it's insane.
Oh
But
my God. What
this
is
is all part of
happening?
why I see kind of, these are the things that tell you that maybe we're hitting a top, right? And I don't mean like top of the entire cycle, although maybe I don't know when the cycle is going to end. But these are the things that I always talk about in this podcast, where like you got to look for these top signals, because when things just start to really not make sense, that's when people take profits. More what I would say is that's when institutions take profits. The way that this industry works, and really all assets work, I guess, is like you have a fundamental reason or a thesis around why an investment will go up. You buy a bunch of it, you hold it while it's nice and low. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of people find out about that thing, whether that's because of an attention economy and like meme coin or some fundamental thing or a regulation change. And then a bunch of people come and buy it. And when it pumps, what happens? The people that bought it early, that had a bunch of it, they sell it. Okay. Let me actually just show you. And then they take profits. And this is what happens every cycle with crypto is like institutions will buy a bunch of stuff. People come in, they buy a bunch of it. Retail floods in. And this is why we have these huge 30% pullbacks. They're not just random. They're because a bunch of institutions decide they're going to take a bunch of money out because all of a sudden retail came in and acted as exit liquidity. This is why these signs of like toppy things, which means retail coming in and getting crazy, is the sign of a pullback, because that's when institutions decide to take profits, right? It's as simple as that. And like XRP and all these like old dead coins pumping, that's like one sign to me that, hey, maybe we're getting a little bit toppy here. And there's more.
Yeah.
Like when I look at Pump.Fun, right? Like we just had the craziness of Pump.Fun was that just last week. And that was like they had to shut down live streaming because people were gonna like threaten to kill themselves and kill animals if they didn't buy their token. Like that's some weird shit, right? Like that's very toppy stuff. And this happens every cycle. Even earlier this year, if you were in crypto in January, February, March, things got a bit crazy. All of a sudden, Dog with Hat became the big thing. And they started saying they were going to put Dog with Hat on the Las Vegas sphere. I remember saying, this feels very toppy, right? And boom, we had a pullback for 8 months, right? And so, like, you got to look for these kind of things. NFTs are starting to pump again. So there's that wealth effect. People are making money. I mean, Bitcoin's up 2x. Of course, you should expect a pullback at some point, right? We forget this stuff. This one's weird. I know you have Yano's tweet up on the screen here. Enron. Do you remember Enron? The
Yeah.
big like scam
Yeah.
company?
Big energy company. Yeah.
Yeah, but they end up being like a Ponzi or a scam or whatever.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, their Twitter account, or at least we don't know if it's theirs, but a Twitter account by Enron said that they're back and they're trying to like help the energy crisis and they're launching a token, like a crypto
Oh
token. I was like,
God. Oh
holy
God.
shit, what's going on here? So there's a lot of sentiment signs out there right now that just make me feel like maybe it's time to either take some profits or like I don't take profits on every pullback, but like feels to me like a pullback is incoming.
Okay, let's jump into some more analysis around pullbacks and what we can expect here. I want to bring up one chart just to give everybody an idea because we talked about this on yesterday's show with Lark is that history doesn't rhyme, but it often repeats itself. And we were looking at ETH charts in the past year. Guys, if you want to listen to a great episode on ETH and price targets for this cycle, you can go and listen to that episode with Lark. Go check that out. But today, let's look at Bitcoin in the last cycle and what it did in January and what you might expect to see this January.
Yeah, I often talk a lot about how this cycle reminds me a lot of last cycle. I think Michael and I, when I was on last week, talked about this, how it just felt very similar. And we were like, this like December 2024 feels a lot like December 2020. And it's interesting because back then, Bitcoin from, I think it was like November to December, went from 20K, which was its previous all-time high, and absolutely ripped to like 40K, right? And then at the end of December, basically early January, I think it's like Jan 3 or something, it had a pullback of like, what is that, 20, 30% at least there that
30%.
we have, 30% that we have
30%.
circled, right? That pullback was in, it says how many days? 19 days. Okay. So it took 2 weeks basically. It pulled back 30% in a time where everyone was so bullish, right? Like Sailor was buying crypto. I think Tesla had announced that they were buying crypto there at some point. You know, we passed the old all-time high. Everyone was celebrating. It was a wild Christmas. It's a good time to be in crypto and go to Christmas. And I hope we get that again this year. But it just feels so similar to then. And, you know, we see the reality there of like, hey, we had this 30% pullback and then we ripped again and went to what, 69K from like 30, right? And it feels like, hey, what did we do here? We went from like 60K or 55K, whatever it was, like a month ago or 2 months ago, all the way up to almost 100K. Feels almost the exact same. Now, maybe we continue to pump a little bit here until the end of December, and then we get the pullback, same date, same time as last cycle. That would be weird. Again, I don't like look at this and go, hey, that happened on Jan 3rd, so this pullback happened on Jan 3rd. I just think like same sort of momentum, same sort of move. It just makes sense that this is going to happen, right? So to me, that's one thing. Let me just share my screen. I want to show another thing. If you look at just the last 2 years here in crypto, look at how this has worked, okay? So if I go 2023, if you look on the left side of the screen here, if you remember January 2023, we were screaming buy crypto, this is the low. And boom, it absolutely ripped into May, okay? We went from like Bitcoin was at 15,000 all the way up to 30,000. So it doubled, okay? And it did that in just a couple months. All of a sudden now we're in April at, was it 30K? And then we chopped. We went back down to what, 25K, back up to 30, back down to 25. We chopped around for all of summer. And it took all the way until November or October, I guess. And then we did it again. We basically doubled, okay, almost tripled up to 60K or 70K, I guess. And then what happened? We pulled back for another 8 months. We waited. And then after summer, boom, we ripped. So we're like, we're just repeating the same thing. And again, this is institutions just taking profit when retail comes in. Each time of these, it got really excited. Things got overheated. Weird stuff happened. Meme coins pumped. People started coming in. We noticed new people entering. And then boom, we like took profits and we consolidated for 8 months. And then the same thing happened. We consolidated. And it's like, is this the same thing again? It feels to me like it might be. Though I would say the timeline is probably sped up now because we're deeper in the bull market, farther into the banana zone. And so like, do we get an 8-month pullback on this one? Probably not. Maybe a month, maybe a few months. I don't know. This is a pretty big move. Institutions are here more than they were last cycle. So like, we used to get these like pullbacks that would happen, as I said, in 2 weeks and then rip within like the next day. We'd be back at all-time highs. Will that happen again this time? Don't know. We'll see. I don't know, but we're definitely going to get a pullback, and we're already double from where we were. We've had a big move. To me, it's like we're already started the pullback, or we have another pump here in December, which would be pretty seasonal. We usually have pretty good Decembers in crypto. Maybe we rip above 100K because that's kind of the meme number. We get to 110, 115, and then we have a big 30% pullback from there. To me, it feels like that's going to happen. When exactly, I don't know. If you remember back in like January, February, we were calling, or I was calling anyway, for a pullback. And everyone thought I was an idiot. And everyone was like, whatever, Kyle, we're not pulling back here. And it took like a month after I started calling it to have the pullback. And then we pulled back for 8 months. But everyone forgets that and says, like, still thinks that I was wrong. And I was like, look, I didn't nail it on the day. And I'm never going to nail it on the day. But like, I knew that we were pretty close to getting a pullback at that point. And to me, it's like, maybe we have another month left, but there's not a lot of juice left to squeeze in this Trump pump, which is exactly what we're doing. So anyway, that's my analysis here. We either go up a little bit more, but I would say in the next 30 days to 45 days, we're getting an aggressive pullback or a long consolidation period.
Let's take a look at global liquidity, because that's another key indicator.
This is the real reason why I think this is going to happen, or at least one of the bigger reasons why I think this is going to happen. Let me just pull your chart up here. So back in September, we shared this chart that's up on the screen here, which, by the way, for those listening on the podcast, this chart shows global liquidity. Okay. And then it shows the price of Bitcoin, and it's just matching them. But what it shows is global liquidity 12 weeks lead. Okay. So what this means is Bitcoin tends to trail liquidity numbers by 12 weeks. Okay. So when you plot it on a chart together, it's almost identical, and it has been for the last year. And we said back in September, we're like, hey, we think this is kind of the bottom. We're probably going to pump here. We put out a pro report on it. We showed this chart. Show the next chart. This is what happened for the next 12 weeks. Bitcoin absolutely went nuts, right? It just followed it almost to a T. Now, to be clear, Bitcoin's not always going to follow this. At some point in the cycle, it decouples, right? It gets too overvalued, and liquidity still matters, but like directionally, it still matters, but it's not going to follow it to a T like it is now. But interestingly, if you look at today and we update this 12 weeks ahead, what does liquidity show? Well, recently we've had a pullback in liquidity, right? If you match this, basically what it shows is kind of similar to what I was just saying, is like, hey, for the rest of December, we go up, we might reach like 110, right? If it matches liquidity, and then we pull back for January. And that's about a 30% pullback to 70K. So again, do I think it plays out exactly as liquidity? No. It's weird that it has for the last year. It won't be identical to that. But we have had a pretty big pullback in liquidity. I don't see this as a cycle top. I think liquidity is still going to go up from here. But liquidity, just like prices, don't go up in a straight line. And so liquidity has come down a little bit. I think that'll ramp up next year. And so like, I'm not worried of like the cycle or anything. We talked about that last week. But I could easily see a pullback coming, both from liquidity, from sentiment, and just from like historical stuff. It just makes sense. We've gone kind of too long without one.
And you should expect these pullbacks if you
100%.
are investing in this space. What did we have? We had 12 pullbacks of greater than 25 in the last cycle, and 9 in the cycle before that. And I think we've had 6 in this cycle so far. So expect some more to come. This isn't it. The other number that's really standing out to me right now is Bitcoin dominance. We talked a lot about that on the show, and 60% being this number. And wow, you look at Bitcoin dominance, and that number is a moving down right now.
Here,
we're
let me
at
just
what,
show it.
52%?
Yeah, 56%. It depends on what you look at. I look at it on TradingView. So we're currently at 56%. But interestingly, I don't know if it's bottom or if it's topped yet. We'll see. It definitely looks like it. Like obviously the last 2 months have been kind of down only for Bitcoin. But this is just November, and then like what are we 6 days in or 3 days into December? So like this could turn on a dime. I don't know yet. Obviously it's kind of up and down on last cycles, but yeah, generally what happens here is like when there's about 9 months left in the cycle, Bitcoin dominance peaks and we go into altcoin season, right? And these things rip. And in that time, that's when we have the most aggressive and the most frequent pullbacks. And if you look like, Jay, you want to pull up your screen there on, altcoin season. I mean, according to this, we are definitely in it, right? Now, the only caveat I would say to this chart we're looking at, the altcoin season index, is this is just XRP, right? XRP just brought in $100 billion in like 30 days. Like when dog with hat pumps or all these meme coins pump, it doesn't bring anywhere remotely close to that much liquidity. So like when XRP moves at that big, bringing 100 billion, it's going to move all the indexes, the total crypto market cap, everything. So like this is kind of to me maybe a fake out altcoin season, but I don't know. Everything is kind of pumping at the moment. Either way, if you look at this altcoin season, it also looks pretty toppy. Now again, it's above that altcoin season line, and it tends to stay there for a couple weeks. So like maybe again, we've got all of December to get through. We have a bit of an altcoin season here. Maybe Bitcoin moves, maybe it doesn't. But at some point, you're going to see a big pullback here. Altcoin season will reset, right? It's not like it's just altcoin season for the rest of the cycle. Like if you look at 2020, 2021, we went above the altcoin season thing 1, 2, 3 times in the bull run part, and we came back down 3 times in the bull run, right? This is our second one that we've done so far here. We did one earlier this year, and now we've just hit our first one here. So like that's going to come back at some point and come back down to the non-altcoin season where Bitcoin sort of has its big run, and then it's going to shoot back up again, right? Like this is how it works. It's very cyclical. So there's just a lot of indicators right now that say we're getting pretty toppy here. Things are getting a bit weird. I've had a ton of texts from friends and even family members talking about crypto. So all these signs are kind of like, I'm a little bit dicey, but I could see us still doing well here in December for a bit.
So what do you do right now? What's your advice to investors right now? Is it to sit on your hands? Is it to decide if you want to gamble and take some money and actually go and gamble with some money and try to
I
catch
mean,
some of these right now and then leave your investments? And I'm
no,
purposely separating investments from gambling.
if you were going to gamble, you do it before we get into alt season, right?
Mm.
Like again, I'm not saying these things won't go up higher, but they've already had massive runs. Like XRP is up like, I don't know, 3x or whatever. That's not the time you ever buy a coin. Nothing. You just don't do that. That's just the complete like opposite of how you want to invest. And
But
so
human psychology makes everybody do it.
I
Like,
know.
then why
I mean,
does
hey,
everyone do it?
if you want to get wrecked and lose the cycle, then do it. That's my advice to get wrecked. Like if we were on a show of how to lose money, that would be my most obvious and clear advice, right? So sometimes it's better to ask the opposite. Like you can say, hey, how do you make money? And I'll say, don't do that. But then people still, it doesn't really stick. But if you say, how do you lose money? I'll just clearly say that. And then that might go, oh shit. Okay. Makes sense. I shouldn't buy now. So I don't know what I do right here. To me, it's still early in the cycle. And so I don't try to trade these pullbacks. I think it's really hard. Like even right now, I got all these indicators. I'm looking at all this stuff and I'm like, okay, we're probably going to pull back. But I'm sitting here going, is it today? Or is it when we go all the way up to 110 Bitcoin, right? And ETH hits 7K or Sol hits 300. Like, I don't know. And the thing is, like, I'm talking like 3 weeks here, right? So there's like 3 weeks that either we go all the way up to 115K or we start our 30% down now. Like, I don't know. I also could be wrong. We have no pullback. So I don't try to trade this stuff. What I'm looking for is, are we at the top of this whole cycle? I need to actually get out. And to me, it looks like no. I've got a full pro report, by the way, coming out on Saturday, which it talks all about that, talking about macro setup and everything. So if you want to learn more about that, I highly recommend you go pro and check that out. But like for me, I don't do anything. Probably the next pullback we have after this one, which again, probably won't be the top. When I start to feel that, I think that's when I'm going to start to take some profits. But we'll see. If we start to really run here, like let's say we really stretch and Bitcoin hits 130, ETH does go like 7, 8K, I'm definitely taking profits at that point. But at here, I think we're still got a long ways to go. So we'll have to see what happens over the next couple of weeks here.
It's an exciting time. An
But
exciting time.
to be clear, I'm not taking profits to then buy back in if it pulls back. I'm taking profits into dollars and it's out of the my portfolio and it's done for the cycle. If you take profits, you buy back in after it pulls back, you've now created a taxable event in most places in the world. And then if all of a sudden you buy back in and that token actually doesn't go up anymore and it continues to go down another 70%, like what happens when we hit the top, well, now you don't have any money left to pay for your taxes and now you're bankrupt. That's what happens to most people. And so like when you take profits this cycle, I know all these influencers out there will tell you to take profits into Bitcoin, take profits into ETH, take profits into Sol. Don't do that. That's just such a dumb idea. Unless you're, again, trading day in and day out, but like have fun losing money if you want to do that. Sorry,
Well,
guys. I got to be real with everyone.
There's a big difference between taking profits and trading. Like those are
exactly.
very different strategies.
And my advice is playing the cycle. I'm not giving advice to trade. If you're trying to get advice for trading, probably listen to a different, like someone else that comes on the show or a different show. But like I'm talking about if you're kind of investing for the cycle. So
yeah, I mean, if you're looking for advice on trading, listen to Zeneca when he comes on the show.
Yeah,
listen to these more. I mean, there's a bunch of people we have on the show that they're traders. That's what they do. But that's not for most people. Most of you guys listening should not be trading. Let's just be real. And I think the other thing is everybody here should be able to remain calm through these pullbacks because there's going to be another one, and then there's going to be another one, and then there's going to be another one. And when those pullbacks happen, they might happen in your portfolio, but it might be worse in your portfolio than it is for the rest of the market. It's the same feeling you have right now where certain things are up 5x and you're flat. The opposite might happen. You might be down 50% and everything else is flat, and you're thinking, so have conviction in your investments.
Two things to add to this. When we say 30% pullback, that's in Bitcoin. Your XRP and your Cardano and your other alts are 90% pullback or 70% pullback, right? Or 50% in days. You get wrecked. And so like, this is why you don't jump from thing to thing, because like XRP's pumped, you jump to it and all of a sudden the market decides to pull back. Well, everything goes down, but XRP goes down, 80%, your Bitcoin only goes down 30%. You would have made a lot more money if you just held Bitcoin, right? So like, that's one thing. And then the other thing is, when these pullbacks happen, that's when the FUD comes out. And all of a sudden, when you're on Twitter or you hear the media, everyone starts to find all the negative reasons, right? It's weird. Your timeline will flip in a day, right? Right now, everything's so bullish. It's so bullish that we have to like turn off live streaming on Pumped Up Fun. And then all of a sudden, one day later, it's like crypto's dying, Bitcoin's the worst, XRP's trash. Like all these things will come out about why it's so bad. And people will find all these reasons to like say the macro is, the world's going to blow up and geopolitical this and that. And you've got to just sort of like find a way to just remove that noise, battle through the pullback together. It's not easy to go through these pullbacks, but we'll all do it together here on the show. And then just continue to hold until it's time to sell. Right. And I don't think we're there yet. So.
Yeah. Kyle, thanks so much for joining us today. Everybody listening in, if you want Kyle's pro report that's coming out this Saturday, it's a banger. You guys are going to want it. If you're not already pro, make sure you go pro today. Also, there's an AMA coming up in the next few weeks before we go on holidays, so you can hook yourself up by attending that AMA. Over 150 people attended the last AMA. Incredible to see. And you get access to the Milk Road Pro Discord, which is just straight fire constantly. But in terms of two ways, there's a lot of bad advice happening in there, but don't worry, we're in there, so we're correcting it constantly. But then there's also a lot of great questions, so you get both sides.
A lot of smart people in there, but a lot of newer people, which by the way, is another signal that, hey, maybe we're getting a bit toppy here. We had a lot of new people join our pro membership. And as you said, 150 people showed up. That was like double any of our other AMAs. So that's another signal to you that things are getting a little bit toppy.
But not cycle top, just a local top for right now. So nobody panic. We're still early in this cycle. Guy, thanks so much for joining us again today. Everybody listening in, have a wicked awesome day. As always, if you liked today's episode, please hit subscribe and make sure you follow us so you don't miss out on the next one. There's also a link in the description to our free 5-minute daily newsletter where we simplify crypto for you while making you laugh. And if you're willing to step up your crypto investing game, we're going to also leave a link for Milk Road Pro. You get access to our portfolio where you can see exactly what we are buying. This is your number one resource to help you invest successfully in crypto. One final note, this show is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Investing in crypto or any asset is risky, and you should never invest more than you can afford to lose. Thanks so much for listening in, my friends. Have a wicked awesome day.